Hey, welcome to Caching in the Northwest. This is the official podcast of GeoWoodstock 18 right here in the great Pacific Northwest. Now, it's Thursday night at 9 p.m. Pacific, and I'm Chris of the Northwest, and we're going to talk about geocaches and geocachers from here and all around the globe. So while you're spending quality time waiting in an airport, we'll be caching in the Northwest.
That's right. And let's see, I'm with Sand, and it's tonight. We're talking with Sandra from AdventureSmart BC. So welcome back, Sandra. We're glad you're here. Live audience. Yeah. Live audience, we want to hear from you too. Share your thoughts, as you always do in the chat. Always great involvement there. But first, well, it's time to bring in our solstice simian. Some say he's as uncomfortable as the middle seat on an airplane. And others say he's the one calling you about your car's extended warranty. All we know is he's called Land Monkey.
Hello, my friends. Good to be back here. Good to be here with everybody. Sandra, nice to see you again.
Same. It's nice to see all of you again. It's been a while. I can't remember the last time I was on, but looking forward to be back here in the winter.
Yes. Yeah. We keep meaning to have you in on the summer, and I think sometimes we get busy with other stuff and forget to bring you in. So we'll have to try and be more diligent about that, so that we're not only just talking about winter adventures, but tonight we are talking about winter adventures because there's a lot to talk about. There's a lot to know. Mm-hmm. But before we get into all of that and spend lots more time talking with our friend Sandra, we are going to remind everybody that we appreciate the support of our patrons who help to keep this podcast coming each and every week. A special thanks to Land Sharks, one of our corporate Denali level sponsors. And Land Sharks is reminding all the good folks out there how much they are looking forward to Hag next month. Now, if you didn't catch it in the geocaching newsletter, the official geocaching kickoff every February in Greater Victoria area. Well, that's called the Hag, or hide. I think it's hide and go seek or hide and go find. Anyways, hide and go, just go. So the Hag happens every year in the February timeframe, and they're very excited to be taking part and encourage people to stop by the Land Sharks HQ. So check it all out. Landsharks.ca. I dragged that on way too long because I was just ad-libbing as I went. All right. Hey, and our other corporate Denali level sponsor, well, that's Gold Country Geotourism. Visit exploregoldcountry.com to learn more about the geotours and the regions and all the amazing things to see and people to meet when you get up to Gold Country. Now we know Marcy was out on a filming adventure. They were doing some more promo stuff, so we're excited to see what comes out of that. But again, please pay attention to all the rules about traveling and plan ahead. Know before you go, as they say, but make your plans to get up to Gold Country. That's exploregoldcountry.com, and on Facebook, facebook.com/exploregoldcountry. Now, if you want to know more about supporting this here show, well, you know what you can do?
No, what can you do?
Do tell.
Let me tell you what you can do.
I love it.
You can go over and click that Patreon link on the cachingnw.com, a website.
Yes. Though a website. Now, you could also go to a website, or perhaps call us with your glow. You may ask, what is a glow?
What is a glow?
See, the show's so interactive. I love this show. Why, it's the geocaching log of the week. It's whether you read it or whether you wrote it, we want to hear about it because great logs simply make geocaching better. You can send an email or a recording to feedback@cachingnw.com. You can always call into 253-693-TFTC and show us how you glow in your very own voice, because you hear our voices all the time and we rarely get to hear your voices.
Yeah, your voice, well, it's way better than mine. At least I prefer it. This week's glow is from a cache, Ollie's Philly GC756 Zulu Charlie. It was logged by Flutterwheelers. That's a fun name. It's a multi-cache, and the log says, "Oh boy, we were doing just fine. Got the numbers, got the combination, got to the second stage, tried all 9 different combinations 3 times. Looked at the description. Got to play with the combo. Well, that made a difference. Got the cache, signed the log, and kicked ourselves all the way back to the road for being so numbskullish." We watched The Amazing Race, and dear wife and I keep talking to the TV about, "Hey guys, read the whole clue." Sillies. Maybe we'll have more patience for them now. Thanks to the cache owner for a nice cache, and have an FP. I think that's a favorite point just between you and me.
I would call it a favorite point.
I would.
Yeah.
It's probably not Franklin Pierce.
Oh, no.
Favorite points are way more fun.
Okay. Yeah. Hey, folks, if you want to join in tonight's conversation, and I know you do. I mean, you guys are already in there chatting it up with each other. Use the hashtag SMART, as in AdventureSmart. You could use the whole hashtag AdventureSmart. That would be okay too, to add something to tonight's show. And of course, you can use the hashtag FATAS if you want to bring up anything in the after show.
There you go. Hey, and before we kick in any further, saw a comment just come up. Wits End, I hope your birthday was great. And yes, we all hope that you had a wonderful birthday, Wits End.
Oh, thanks. Yeah, it was a quiet day at work.
Well, I guess that's a nice gift.
I was going to say, I'm not complaining.
A quiet day at work can be a very nice
Just another day at the office, but thank you. Yeah.
Awesome.
I usually end up going back to school for my birthday.
Yeah. It
hasn't happened in the last couple of years, but you know. Yeah.
I tell people I share a birthday with Elvis Presley, David Bowie, and Professor Stephen Hawking. So apparently I'm slowly killing off everybody I share a birthday with. Yeah.
You're just claiming that day for yourself. No more sharing.
I'm kind of greedy and selfish. It's a human trait. But you know who's not greedy and selfish? That would be Sandra, and we welcome you back to the podcast. It's so great to see you again.
Thank you. Yeah, it's good to be back. We were just talking about summer and winter, and I've been here a few times in the winter.
Yeah.
So this has to happen again in the summer, but I'm glad to be here today.
Sold.
Yeah. We'll make sure that happens. But tonight, as you said, it is winter, and we are glad you're here, even if it is still winter. But for people that may not be familiar with you and AdventureSmart, can you tell us a little bit about yourself and your organization?
Absolutely. So the AdventureSmart program started in British Columbia, Canada, over 17 years ago. We're just entering our 18th year of operations in BC. And it was started by the BC Search and Rescue Association in conjunction with our provincial government, which is Emergency Management BC, that sector of that part of our government. And the whole idea then and still now is to increase awareness so we can help reduce the number and severity of search and rescue calls. Based on our success in the first 5 years, which was going into schools and workplaces, working with industry and at trailheads and ski hills, we were quite proactive about the outdoor education and made it fun, but also really educational at the same time. The federal government saw what we were doing, and since 2009, it's been a national program in every province and territory. What's unique about BC, amongst many things, is that we are funded and endorsed and supported by the BC Search and Rescue Association. So I have a team, I have an office, I have a crew. We're in a different gear than everywhere else in Canada. We have a volunteer support system as well, but everywhere else in Canada is completely volunteer. But in BC, we have a paid crew to do what we do. I'm grateful to be joining you tonight from the traditional territory of the Coast Salish people. Originally from Ontario, have been in BC for over 30 years. Not sure where that went, but it went like that. And I used to be a park ranger with BC Parks. I have 2 children who are no longer little people, 23 and 20. And my third child is my mountain bike that I love to spend a lot of time with in the summer, spring and fall. and I can lock it up in the laundry room, unlike my other two children. And it doesn't talk back. And it.
I was going to say you can with the others, but it's really frowned on.
Not going to go there. No, I'm okay to do it to the bike, but nobody else.
Wise
choice. So I'm
choice.
quite fortunate to be able to do what I do. I love it, and I'm an outdoor recreationalist myself, and love to be in this industry. I'm glad to be here tonight.
Yeah, at times I think you've got a pretty cool job, but there's probably, like every job, that looks cool from the outside. I'm sure there's lots of hidden challenges, but we sure appreciate everything that you and the whole AdventureSmart team do.
Thank you.
You guys do a lot of work. I have to say that personally, I'm kind of relieved to be in 2022 now. The past couple of years have been crazy. But, speaking of all the stuff that you guys do, how has 2021 been for the AdventureSmart team?
The pandemic has played a role in all of our lives in any shape or form, no question, big or little. And who knew, and I didn't think it would trickle to us and our team the way it has, in a unique way. That way is we were all encouraged to go outdoors in the early phases of this pandemic, and even still, really, it's a safer space to be in, right? Airflow's better, we're keeping distance, we're recreating, it's good for our mental well-being, physical, there's so many pluses, right? So our health officials right across the country were saying, go outside. Everybody went outside. And what happened was we saw a 30% increase in search and rescue calls in summer 21 and in the following winter. So what's unique about that, though, is because we weren't allowed to travel during these times, like we can a little bit now, the subjects were actually residents of our province. So often, sometimes provincially, we think it's others, right? Many of us are good at pointing fingers or don't want to take that responsibility to think that it's us. However, during these influxes, it definitely was. But this is where we were allowed to be at 2 and 2 equals 4 there. But so it was a busy time. On an average, BC search and rescue members have about 1,900 incidents to respond to on an annual basis. So that's more than anywhere else in the country. So add 30% on top of that. 1,900 is already enough, let me tell you. So the trickle, believe it or not, to what we do here with our team is more education was needed. We need to be in more areas. If it was online, virtual, special events, face-to-face, working with tourism, destination marketing organizations, Destination BC, industry partners like Avalanche Canada, BC Parks Canada, that list is a solid one. And so we needed to collaborate even more as everyone went outside and was encouraged to. I joked with the province and I said, with our health official, Dr. Bonnie Henry, I said, can you just put me up there with her? Just give me 1 minute. Give me 1 minute to stand beside Bonnie so she can say her thing, and just give me 1 minute after she tells everybody to go outside, and I'll recite our 3 T's, and I'll just say what you need to do, and then I'll quickly step out of screen. Didn't happen, but I tried, jokingly and somewhat seriously, and they never took that lure. But nonetheless, it's trickled to SAR. It's trickled to so many facets of our world, and who knew it would come down to this as well.
Yeah, no kidding. Well, as we were seeing the effects of the pandemic, and we were seeing more people getting outside, and we were, I follow the SAR stats, so I was seeing, on a monthly basis, the uptick, and thinking, oh yeah. So I was thinking about your organization, and man, we got to find ways to get this messaging out there, right? Like, there's a lot of people who just want to get outside and try new things, and that's awesome. But yeah.
I know, that's the kicker. Well, and that's where we use what we call internally our 3 pillars that would steers us with the BC AdventureSmart program. So we use data-driven insights. We talk about those stats, and how do I, as the executive director of the AdventureSmart program in BC, use that data to educate? Well, it's like gold to me. It's content. It's part of the equation, and I get to pull from that data and figure out where the SAR calls are happening, what the subject personas are, causations, regions, like that's perfect for me. And then I can craft and steer and place messaging accordingly.
Right.
Our second pillar in there is partnerships and working with industry partners like the likes of BC Parks, who are a little bit older than us. We're only in our 18th year, and they're a little bit older than 100. So it's nice to be in their space and on their platforms. A good example is their day pass for a couple of local parks here on the South Coast. We're incorporated into that pass where people can use our trip plan app and file their trip plan as they book their pass, and then they go for their hike. So that's a great example of a partnership. Also involved with tourism on that and many others. And then the third one is special projects, where we can pull that data, work with partners, and create special projects like a trail specific safety video series that we're creating to launch in spring 2022. So 12 of the highest search and rescue calls in the province, we've videoed them and hiked them. And we're going to let you know where to make the left and make the right and what to look for. And you can watch this before you go to get an idea of what's ahead. So lots going on there.
Wow. Very cool.
So smart. I can't tell you the time you're out on the trails and I'm following the compass arrow, and it's like, okay, I'm at a fork in the road. Do I go right? Do I go left? What is this way? What is that way? Having a little knowledge ahead of time. Perhaps I've been in the park before, or I've watched a video. Like, yeah, this is the better way to go. This is,
Yeah, Sandra, when you're making those videos, can you stop where the geocaches are and show us in the video as well? Under this third rock here. Yeah.
In the next bunch that we film, I'll call you up, Jay, and you can come along with us and you can point us in the right direction. Yeah.
Sounds like fun. I would be totally down for that.
Yeah, all good.
That's awesome.
Nice. Well, winter is upon us. And, I don't know if you've noticed, we had a winter this year. I mean, we had snow. I experienced a white Christmas. It's been a long time since that. And, there was a good amount of snowfall, in the southern regions that we don't normally see. And, a little snowy weather is not going to keep us geocachers inside for very long, and we're going to get outside. In fact, we went out geocaching in the snow. I've got a good pair of boots, wool socks. I was ready. I see that Keats says, a thing I experienced this winter was cold, wet feet on hikes in the snow. Bringing a spare change of socks, even plastic bags to wrap around your feet in leaky boots will help. So, Sandra, what are some things that we should bring with us to avoid any cold related injuries and to keep warm, especially, our feet? Those are important. Our extremities, our feet, our hands.
Yeah, those are key points, because our body's going to go into mode of let's protect the biggest and most important organs. Unfortunately, our digits aren't those. So that heat and generation will happen for our core, and our extremities, our digits, fingers and toes will pay the price. And when I read that comment there from the listener, wet jumped out to me in that, because we can be cold and dry versus cold and wet. And I'd much rather be cold and dry than cold and wet. Yes. And that's a biggie. So as we plan before, I can insert our 3 T's here. We talk a lot about trip planning training and taking the essentials. And in that trip planning phase, pre-adventure, whatever your adventure is, you're thinking about those what ifs. You're thinking about, what if my feet get wet? What if I get soaked? What if it pours? What if I step in a huge mud puddle and now I do have wet feet? Do I have a change of socks? Do I have the right socks? Which are not cotton, by the way. I think most of us know that, but it's always a good friendly reminder. So a synthetic or a smart wool are great. I got a bunch for Christmas, thank goodness. You hated getting socks for Christmas when you were a kid, right? You get them now as a hiker and you're like so excited. And that was me on Christmas morning.
There was lots of socks exchanged in our household, yeah.
That's fun.
Nice, the darn tough ones we love. So.
Yes.
So
that's
fun.
Become one of my favorite.
But the right gear will make or break your trip, right? So we talk about keeping warm and dry, Chris, and how do you do that? The right gear is critical. And having that base layer, let's talk about the upper body base layer, fitted and close to you as a synthetic base. So it's going to be a polypropylene synthetic material. Again, never cotton. So it can wick away that moisture from your body as you might perspire, but it's going to dry really fast. And that's the key. Your feet need to keep warm and dry. The second layer is a thermal. It can be wool. Wool's awesome. Wool will also always be awesome. Puffy, a fleece, and then the outer is that protective against the elements. You can regulate yourself with those 3 layers pretty easy. But having those extra pieces of gear, extra socks, hand warmers, extra gloves, hat, toque, to change out of those wet things, if you do get wet, into something dry, will be your savior.
And, just that, even just a quick trip from the car, I'm just going to go, a few meters, couple hundred feet to go get this cache. You can get wet and cold pretty quickly.
Speaking of the results of getting wet and cold, Sandra, we were talking before the show started about an image that you shared on social media not too long ago about the effects of the cold. Did you want to talk about that for a moment?
Yeah, and I think that's a great piece. I did put in the show notes our social. If you wanted to share our Instagram, I can speak to that. It's not a great picture of my hand, and it's missing some color. And so that is not frostbite. It's not hypothermia. I wasn't hypothermic. It wasn't any of that. I have a disorder. It's called Raynaud's. But nonetheless, cold anything exposure will do this to me. So we recently posted about cold weather incidents, whatever that might be. So it could be hypothermia. It could be cold water immersion. It could be slips and trips and falls. It could be frostbite. It could be frost nip, and just being in tune with what you need to do to grasp, to manage those, to mitigate them from happening, obviously. But if they do happen, how do we manage those in our group? Do we all have first aid, and can we help our friend who's suffering from any of these things? Do we know how to move safely on thin ice, or what's the thickness for that ice? And if someone goes through, how do we get out of it? These are all the fun things that I get to gather and put together for our posts on social. And so we can actually think about all of these aspects of cold weather, wintertime, and how we need to plan for it, and think about those what ifs. Like, really, as you're planning your next geocache and you're maybe a week out and you're planning that adventure, let's plan that Jay breaks his ankle while we're 2 kilometers in. And so what does Sandra do? What's Chris going to do? Who's he in charge? Oh, you look too excited about that.
Yeah, hold on a minute.
It's not good.
Oh, I thought we were planning things. Sorry. That was part of the planning. No?
Not those things. Those things. So, and thinking about, like, who's in charge of first aid? Who's in charge of making a shelter? Who's in charge of communications to first responders? Who's in charge of and knows how to call 911, because that's the only number you call. And so how do we keep our mental well-being healthy? So these are all the things that you should do before you head out there, and think of the what ifs in those scenarios, especially in the winter, but all year round, really.
Smart.
Yeah, there are things we can plan for, and we do plan and take things along, and that's part of trip planning and all. But sometimes events out on the trail happen that we don't plan for. They just happen. Like, well, we have the 3 T's. How about the big A? Like avalanches. I think there's even an avalanche event or recognition. You tell me. But this weather this year, wow, it's been something else. Does that increase or decrease avalanche risks this year? I think I have a clue what the answer is, but you tell us.
Well, has anyone else in this room tonight, aside from me, taken an avalanche skills training course? Jay?
No.
Nobody? I haven't yet.
Oh, okay. You guys might find it really interesting. At the very least, you could go to Avalanche Canada's website and check out their Avi Savvy. It can really introduce you to the language, the lingo, the terminology, the ratings, the definitions, what you need to do before you travel anywhere in the backcountry during the winter. So technically, you shouldn't be heading out there if you don't have this training, period. It's pretty basic. You could start with us. Like, right before I jumped on with you tonight, I was delivering one of our webinars to 100 people, and we delivered our snow safety education backcountry webinar tonight, and talked about the 3 T's, talked about what to do in an emergency, talked about cornices and tree wells and basic avalanche awareness. So back to your question, though, because I'm really good at going sideways, is that avalanches is really, it's all about the snowpack. And obviously the weather and those cycles will will affect the snowpack. But as we go into winter at the very beginning, like my brain and some of us who eat, breathe, and sleep snow, we start thinking about what's this building up to be for the winter. So we're thinking of those storm cycles and where those layers are solid, weak, all depending on temperature, the weakness in the snow, the type of snow, what temperature it was when it fell. Did it get sun exposure, slightly melt and then freeze, and now we have a very weak layer? Like, so it's the snowpack that's underneath us that will have those weaknesses. Hence, going out and digging a snow pit to see what those layers are. You can see them. It's really cool. And you can see where they are weak depending on a few different tests without getting into all that science. But and then obviously snowpack that falls onto that adds to it. So does sun exposure aspects, slope angle, wind load. There's a lot of in that. But, you know, usually the triggers, and if I'm quoting Avalanche Canada correctly, 90% of avalanches are human triggered. So if we can assess the situation, mitigate that risk, really know how to route find and pick when we should and shouldn't go, we can mitigate those because we're usually the triggers. Do they happen naturally? Absolutely. But there's a number of incidents that are human triggered for sure.
Yeah.
Wow. All right. So I've got my task called out for me now. This year, I'm committing here publicly that I will take the AvCan avalanche awareness training. I need to do that.
Nice.
I can say that REI down here in the States has online classes as well. I did sign up for one. I wasn't able to make it, but so I'm going to work on that again. There's more avalanche training through REI. So
there you go.
REI
as well
good option.
Yeah.
REI is great. And it's the same with our MEC up here. Your REI down there are similar. And there's some awesome stuff online. And just don't dismiss that you've now had avalanche skills training, because they are completely separate entities, right?
Right.
The online stuff is a great spot to start.
Exactly.
Perfect spot to start. And then the field training is actually where you go out into the field and dig pits and travel either on snowshoe, snowmobile, backcountry touring, split board. You're digging the pits, you're assessing, you're doing compression tests and shovel shear, and you're doing it all so that you really get your hands in the snow, literally.
Right. I recall from the North Shore Rescue documentary series, I think in the last episode or one of the episodes, they actually went through that with the team, and they dug the big square hole, and they were measuring the layers and making the observations and doing the science behind that on that series. So if people are kind of curious about what Sandra's talking about, like, I'm not really following this. If you watch through, I think there's only 4 or 5 episodes in the documentary. It's not that long, but if you watch through the North Shore Rescue documentary series, they'll show you exactly what Sandra's talking about.
And Avalanche Canada has some really great shorter 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 minutes little blurbs and content you can learn too about cornices, tree wells, avalanches, how that snowpack builds up, the weak layers, snow pit analyzation. It is a snow science. It's a science. Mm-hmm. It's quite interesting. Avalanche forecasters are scientists. They're a unique bunch. Thank goodness they're there to tell us what to do. But it's also, they're only providing us that update of what those forecasts are on the dangers. I still need to go if I'm traveling into the backcountry. I need to dig that pit myself. I need to dig that snow pit with my group as I'm going on the slope that's indicative of where I'm about to travel. If I'm skinning up an area in the backcountry of the North Shore, I need to pre that skin. I need to dig that snow pit that's indicative of the slope that I'm about to travel and really assess it and take notes, if I will. At the very least, dig a pit and see where that layer is and see if that's an okay slope to be on. So it all takes some time. Mm-hmm.
Wow. All right. Well, speaking of avalanches, there was a pretty scary avalanche rescue in the news up here in BC very recently. Can you speak maybe to what the subject in that situation did right that helped him survive?
Yeah, I reached out to him and I was really grateful for his support. He let us share his story and testimonial on our platforms. And he was a veteran of outdoor recreation. So let's set the stage a bit. So he wasn't unaware. He wasn't new to outdoor recreation or to snow activities. His family was always very active in outdoor recreation, winter travel. He'd been on skis and doing all sorts of great fun things, adventuring for 30 plus years. And so he started quite young because he is still very young, and got caught up in an avalanche here on the North Shore, if you're talking about that one on Hollyburn J. And he was fortunate enough to have friends in his group who were able to manage the situation. That was the kicker in this one, because as he traveled through an area that he was very familiar with, that he knew, that he trusted, the conditions were still indicative to slide. And it was, even though it was in an area that had a little bit more trees in it, where you think that, and we know from our training that would be an area that would be a little bit safer to be traveling in on a slope, skiing down or skinning up, and it still released. So those conditions at that time were optimal to go. So he triggered that, right? That group had triggered that, and then he was unfortunately hurt quite badly. But fortunately, his group know what to do, and they knew how to take care of him at the time. A few others around were helpful and called for help, and it was accessible to search and rescue, which is a biggie, because sometimes you can be waiting, depending on where you're playing, you might be waiting a while for SAR to get to you. In this case, North Shore was able to access that group fairly quickly and get them out to recover. So even when we're experienced and we know the area and we know the terrain and we do assessment, you know, he's an educated person, so it still happened, right? Accidents can still happen. So we do our best, but they still do happen.
So it sounds like he had all three T's in play there. The trip plan, the training, and the essentials. And on top of that, maybe the fourth T, which is
Team.
Take a troop of trained professionals.
I don't need any more T's added to my T's, but good one.
But he did everything right from the sounds of things. He wasn't doing anything reckless. He was outdoor recreating, and accidents happen. The slide was triggered to let go, but because he had done the planning properly and he had the right people with him, this is what made all the difference in the outcome, Sandra. That's what I'm hearing.
The group dynamics were key in this one, right? Because, you know, and I'm not sure if there's snow analysis pre recreation. Not sure what they did in relation to snow pit assessment before they headed into that area. But he did comment that he knew this area, and that he knew this area that they were going into was a little bit more treed. He didn't think it would slide. We've had some crazy weather over the last few weeks everywhere, right? No matter where we are, north or south of the border. And so we've had a higher than normal snowpack, no question. Some cold temps that we're not used to. Heavy rains, and warmed up to 11 degrees today. And just so the fluctuations have been incredible all over the place. So it's an interesting time, but group dynamics will help you if you've got yourself dialed in with your friends.
Wow. Even somebody who knows what they're doing, you know, you're still in danger. So don't take these things lightly. You know, Sandra, as you're talking, I'm remembering back to an adventure that I had with my friends here. And we decided, you know what, we're near a geocache that we've all wanted to get, and it's on an island. It just happens that this is the right time of year and the lake is dry. We can walk across to it. We don't need a boat. And it was fun. We enjoyed it. We found a cache. We were safe. But the same thing can happen here in the winter as we're coming on it and we see, oh, there's a geocache, and that's a really good one. And it's just over there. You know, the lake is frozen. I should be able to cross on that lake, save me a lot of time. Perhaps I can stay drier and safer if I can go there quickly and come back. It's some of the things that go on in the head. I know that's not right, but those are some of the things we rationalize. What should we know? What should we even consider before we step out on ice?
Yeah, and we have some great, awesome lakes in Canada, don't we? We're so fortunate in all seasons. Swimming and boating and cottaging in the summer, and skating and pond hockey and what have you in the winter. But as in areas where it's not normally cold enough to freeze, let's use the south coast of British Columbia as one example. A lot of those areas did freeze. So then it's like, it's a novelty to go ice skating, either on an alpine lake or even lower down elevation. It was quite fun for many, and just people gravitated to it like crazy. But we really need to think about that thickness. We did a great post on our Instagram recently about ice thickness, and it was a fun video in there of some search and rescue volunteers training. That those aren't public in those Mustang suits; those are SAR volunteers. But really thinking about the ice thickness, 7 centimeters or 3 inches or less. Let's stay off. Plain and simple. It's pretty basic. 10 centimeters or 4 inches is okay for ice fishing, walking, cross country skiing. That's doable. Snowshoeing, if you will. 12 centimeters or 5 inches, one snowmobile or an ATV. 20 to 30 centimeters or 8 to 12 inches, a car or a small pickup for those who might go ice fishing, I guess. I'm not taking my car on the ice, but some do for activities. And then 30 to 38 centimeters or 12 to 15 inches would be a medium pickup or a van. But, it's like, well, how the heck am I supposed to know that? That thickness.
Exactly. Doesn't it change as you move out? And it's not a uniform piece of ice sitting on top of this water.
It's not. And that's a great point. And so me, cautious Sandra, is just not going to go out. But that's just me, because I really don't feel like breaking through. You saw my hands on a cold walk on a cool day. I don't need to be in the water. But that's just me. So being cautious and using your common sense, I listed depths and thicknesses and such, but common sense needs to prevail here with many, many things. And if we think about that, you're right. If we think about the thickness at the shore versus out in the middle of the lake, or how deep is this lake? Do I know? Am I familiar with it in the summertime? Do I fish here? And am I familiar that it's a really shallow lake and that it's probably frozen and totally fine? Or is it super deep and it rarely freezes and it's only just frozen because it's been cold in the Southwest for 2 days? So common sense has to prevail. If you do break through, easier said than done, don't panic. Your clothing will actually trap some air in there and keep you somewhat buoyant for a bit. Turn towards the direction that you came from and place your hands and arms flat on the unbroken surface if you can. And then kick your feet and try to maneuver yourself up ever so slightly onto the unbroken piece and staying on your stomach, kind of like a seal would do. This is when you want to think like a seal. And then once you're lying on the ice, don't stand up. You want to stay down there and you want to roll away from that opening. And then obviously if your buddy breaks through, do your best to not run towards the person or the hole. You're probably going to break through as well, and then you're both in trouble. Use an item to throw towards them and extend to your friends so that you can pull them back. Rope, improvise with sticks, jumper cables, skis, a ski pole, and then get them as warm as you can quickly and call 911. They've been in the water for a bit, so we need to think about their condition.
Yeah. Speaking of throwing things to people, it's just a side story from, I think it was this fall. There was an amazing story in, was it Golden Years? Where there was a group of Sikh gentlemen who were out for a hike, and they noticed somebody in trouble. Actually, I think it was a couple of people were in trouble, and they're like, well, we don't have anything on us except we do have. And they took their turbans, tied them together, and made a rescue rope and saved the lives of these people. It's just an amazing story. But talking about being calm in a situation, like Keats was saying, as repeating what Sandra said, addressing the situation in a calm, measured manner, and they came up with a solution and saved somebody's life. So Sandra, you're talking about jumper cables, whatever you have to throw out so that you don't walk out on the ice and put your, now you're in the same situation.
And being as methodical as we can about it. That's a great example of the group of friends there in Golden Years. That was an incredible rescue. That was the subject was very close to going into that fast, swift water. Like, so great that they did that. They had their wits about them. It was sketchy on the slope where they were standing. There was a lot going on in that. You and I both saw it, obviously. I know it's easier to say than do sometimes to keep calm. We talk about it when we deliver our children's program, Hug a Tree and Survive. If you get lost or separated from your family, reminding the children to remember what we taught them, remember that they can keep warm and dry, that they will be brought home safe and sound. It's the same we tell the adults, stop, think, observe, plan. When you have something to do, you can be a little bit more cognizant of your steps and processes to manage your situation. If you don't have something to do, you're often sporadic about your decisions.
Mhm.
So we try to keep it structured and methodical and strategic as much as possible. And that will help you calm yourself as well. When we have something to do, we're actually a little bit better off than when we don't. Day to day, even, let alone an emergency.
For sure.
Yeah, I think my philosophy on it is, it sounds similar to yours. I don't care if I get called a wuss in this, but I have that little, it's a really easy chart. Ice, don't go. I don't care if they're filming ice road truckers and 100,000-pound semis are traveling across I'm done. No, just give me the warm fire ski lodge. I'm good.
Sounds like what Seabeck Tribe was sharing.
Yes. I can relate
She
to
says,
that.
as a kid, my parents would go driving on a local pond that froze over. I always was freaked out that we would fall through. So
Yeah.
I think she shares your sentiment, Jim.
I'm right there. Yeah. So we share a birthday, and we can share time in the lodge with hot cocoa in front of the fire. It's all good.
There you go.
Okay.
You're so sharing.
Yeah, I'm sharing. Yeah. My mom taught me well. So we have talked about avalanche risk and management. We've talked about the crazy weather this year. I mean, personally, I like seeing a little bit of snow down in the south here, down in the lowlands. But the weather, just no question, has been crazy. You've mentioned essentials, and I think you probably have this, I don't know, maybe tattooed inside your eyelids so you could recite it from memory. What essentials should we take with us this time of year?
I don't have them tattooed, but
Okay.
I can help you out with that, no problem. And the whole thing here is to really think about what's the foundation of your pack. Let's say we're geocaching. Let's stick with the focus here. And let's just make sure that we've got our basics, and then we would add to it season and sport specific, right? So some form of light source, a flashlight with extra batteries, a headlamp with extra batteries, making sure that that's in good working condition, a fire making kit, and knowing how to use that fire making kit, whatever that is to you. If it's the lint from your dryer, if it's a bag of chips that burns really well, if it's an old inner tube from your mountain bike tire that burns really well, cotton balls dosed in Vaseline, and that you know how to use that kit with what's in your pack. A signaling device, a safety whistle, and an emergency mirror. You can reflect that to search and rescue in helicopters. And the whistle is really great to have on the top of your winter coat so that it's easily accessible to blow in case you fall into a tree well, or you're obviously bundled up and waiting for search and rescue. It's close to your face. It's not tucked away anywhere. So that's really important to carry extra food and water. And when I say extra, this isn't the food and water you're taking to eat for your adventure that you're on. It's for the emergency. Yeah. So it's spare. Extra clothes. We talked about the synthetic layering, navigation and communication aids, knowing how to use those devices. If it's a Spot, an InReach, a Zoleo, whatever you geocache with. I'm not sure if you use your phone. We always try to encourage everyone to think outside of the phone box and think of devices that are more efficient than the phone. It'll go. I guarantee you. I can't stop you from taking your phone. I know you're going to take it, but don't rely on it as your primary means of communications in an emergency. First aid kit, emergency shelter, pocket knife, multi-tool, and sun protection. So that's the basics. And then obviously for winter travel, we're always carrying and knowing how to use our avalanche transceiver, shovel, and probe.
There you go. Wow. Lots of stuff. So we've covered 2 out of the 3 T's, the essentials to take. We've covered quite a bit of discussion around training. Now, what are we forgetting, Sandra? There's a 3rd T.
You're challenging me on the 3 T's. That's good. That's really good. That's impressive. I better not get this wrong, or I might get fired on the spot. Yeah, we talked about the 3 T's and we missed one. And the first one, and I say it's the first one because we need to plan and make a plan and leave that with an emergency contact. So trip planning is critical, and we make that easy. You can download our trip plan app. I put that link there in the show notes if anyone wanted to share it. The app is free of charge in Canada. Sorry, America, but it's only in Canada. And it allows you to fill in the fields. So if you're not sure what making a plan even looks like, you can just fill in the fields. We've made it easy for you. And then you can just send it to an emergency contact in your phone. If you're not back by, let's say 5, it's now 5:30. Your friend called you to say, hey, I thought you're supposed to be back at 5. You don't answer. Now you're calling 911. and you're letting them know that they're not back by the time they said they would be. You can transfer and send that trip plan to police or RCMP, and they'll share it with search and rescue, because police are always the tasking agency on any search and rescue call. So that's a big piece, so that if first responders know to even where to start their search or rescue, it's saving time. And time is a huge factor to your success in anything out there. So the first T is trip planning, and you make a plan, leave a plan. You can do it all in the app. You can do pen and paper. You can take a trailhead selfie. You can text your mom. You can text your friend. You can put a note in your car. It's totally fine. Police will access it and use it. You can, wherever you keep notes in your house, if it's on the fridge or on the kitchen table, whatever you do, just do it. And so that there is a plan in place, and that your emergency contact knows what their roles and responsibilities are, that they know who to phone, when to phone, what to share, and that they're very calculated. So I actually pick my emergency contacts pretty seriously. I don't use my mom. I don't want to go there, because obviously there's much more emotion involved than if I pick a friend who knows me. Of course, my friend's still going to care, but I'm pretty particular about who that emergency contact is. And just an example, someone who knows me, knows the area, maybe has been there with me, and they know what their job is.
Sandra, you talked about a lot of the components that go into a trip plan. And as we've said, like if you're in Canada, you can use the app, which is super helpful. If you're listening to this podcast in any other country, well, you don't need to use the app. You just need to leave a plan. And Sandra went through a lot of the core things. And as geocachers, one of the best things you can put on your trip plan is one or two of the geocaches you are planning to go for, because then that will actually give a set of coordinates of where you were planning to head, which I think could be extraordinarily helpful.
Absolutely. If it, like you said, Jay, any shape or form of a plan will help. The region, the park, the trailhead, your geocache lat and long, your whatever it is. And then if you actually happen to have communication with first responders, you can send your lat and long, because every phone has a compass, right? If you don't know where that is, just ask your phone to tell you where it is. It's going to pull it up. On our app, it's also there. The lat and long's there. So there's ways to share that with first responders. If you aren't capable of doing that old school way, you can do it with technology.
Nice. Now, Sandra, all this is available. Let me pop this up once more. plan.adventuresmart.ca. You can go there, you can get your tools, you can actually do a trip plan there. Is there so this is great in Canada, north of the border. Is there any partner organization like AdventureSmart in the US?
The short answer is no. And there isn't an organization that is similar to this. I know we've had people reach out to us and try to emulate what we've done here to create a best practice in their community. We've had that happen in New Zealand. They joined us a long time ago in 2007, I believe, at a conference, and they went back and created AdventureSmart New Zealand. There's an AdventureSmart UK, and so we work with other STAR communities throughout the country and internationally. Canada, before COVID, would host an annual search and rescue conference called STAR Scene. And there'd be international delegates that would join us. And so we would work with international STAR associations, right, in sharing best practices, standard operating systems and procedures, guidelines, models like what we do for prevention and education. So that was a way to share. And depending on who champions it back in their country, we're here to share. I've been working with someone casually talking, but they're very keen in the UAE, and they're just all over it, and they can't get enough. So I did a webinar with them not long ago. So there's nothing like the AdventureSmart program down there, but I'm sure there is. I know the Hug a Tree and Survive program, that was our first program, stemmed from the States, from an unfortunate incident with a little boy, Jimmy Beveridge, who passed away due to hypothermia 37 years ago. And the wardens on that call wanted to help children learn how not to have that happen. So they created the Hug a Tree and Survive program, and we adopted it in Canada in '96. But so that's delivered down there in a similar format, but not underneath like an AdventureSmart umbrella. No.
Well, Wits End,
Everyone listening.
we've got our challenge set for us now. We've got to create this organization.
Okay. I thought maybe it's just because Americans were expendable. There's so many of us that who'd miss a few. But no, I'm kidding. No, that's
Feel free to get in touch. We're happy to share what we've got here. There's no point in anyone recreating the wheel. None.
There you go.
This is what we've done with the others.
You know, Chris is joking around a bit, but if there's a listener on the call who's really passionate about this idea, reach out to Sandra to find out how you can get similar programs going in your area, your neighborhood, your region.
Absolutely.
It's so important. And like you say, you don't have to have the official program. Just make sure somebody knows, I mean, where you're going, geocache details. Komokino apparently did things right. He said, I was an hour and a half late contacting my wife while I was on my Monte Cristo hike because there was an accident. She was ready to call the police by the time I was able to contact her. So it sounds like they had some great planning in place, and she was ready to do the right thing, to call the cavalry to come help him out. Thankfully, it wasn't necessary, but you know, the preparation.
But they had a plan in place.
Yeah, that's awesome.
And we have Kitty Quest here that says, I often text a GC code or two to my daughter when I set out. She knows what to do with them, how to find the coordinates, but my husband does not. It's important to know the person getting it understands it. So
that's key.
That's like you said, that's why you don't necessarily have your mom at the top of your list.
She's not on that list. No.
Yeah.
Not on that list.
Yeah, she's not that she's not important.
Exactly.
But,
she's at the top of other lists, but definitely not that one. No.
Komokino asked another question, but I'm going to ask if we can move his question to the after show, just because I know we're running tight on time, but I think it's a great question. So he's asking.
I also wonder if that would be a whole episode.
Yeah. Whoops. Sorry. Go ahead, Chris. You had it.
I don't know if I clicked it or not.
Komokino is wondering, Sandra, if you can explain the Hug a Tree program. Maybe if you can give like just the 30-second overview, but maybe we'll come back and go in more depth on another episode on that.
Yeah, that's easy. We can talk about the kids program, and it's it was the first program we brought underneath our umbrella, and so that we could help children kindergarten to grade 6 learn something, some safety tips to do if they got lost or separated from their family. And it really stems around the 4 simple points. They need to tell a person, an adult, where they're going. We know that now as trip planning as adults. So kids, tell someone where you're going. If they do get lost or separated, they need to hug a tree and stay put. That's our stop analogy. For adults, they need to keep warm and dry. So they get an emergency shelter from us. They get a whistle. Hopefully they've got a coat on. We teach them how to make a nest and get off the forest floor. Sit down, crisscross applesauce, wave your shelter if you need to, blow your whistle, snack on some food. And then the really important piece is they need to answer search and rescue volunteers' calls for help. So they often think they're in trouble and they don't want to get in trouble. So we remind them that the volunteers, the searchers are there to help them bring them home, and that they do need to respond with a whistle or verbal. So Hug a Tree is great. AdventureSmart.ca, look under programs and you'll see all of our programs. Hug a Tree is at the top of the list. You can book it for free and we'll deliver it virtually or whatever you like. Let us know.
Great tips. Yeah, I can see where kids might think they would be in trouble.
Yeah.
So, well, we've talked a lot about winter, ice, avalanches. Until last winter, I didn't even know tree wells were a thing, and now they freak me out. But looking forward, are there any plans that the AdventureSmart team might have for spring and summer that you could share with us?
We do. We have a lot on the go, actually. So this weekend, to start short, and then I'll go long distance, Avalanche Awareness Days. My team's going to be in Revelstoke, which is in the East Kootenays of the province of BC, working closely with Revelstoke Search and Rescue, sharing Avalanche Canada's messaging. We are putting on regular snow safety education events online. You can find that all at our BC AdventureSmart Facebook page. February 2nd, we've got Technology and Communications special event online, Lost Person Behavior on March 1st. And then we're really excited to kick off spring 2022 is our 12 trail specific safety videos that will be launched for everyone to use. They'll be on our YouTube. We're going to work with partners to promote them and push them and get them. You're going to see and hear us for a while. because we really want people to watch them and use them as tools before they go onto these trails. So we can really help those star groups that are super, super busy. And we'll have kickoff to summer. We're going to bring in some industry specialists and do some more online stuff. We'll partner with partners and go and do special events as well. So it doesn't seem to slow down for us. Everybody likes to recreate and get outside. So it's a good thing. And we'll continue to educate them as they do.
Very cool. I think you answered the question I had, which was, are we going to see any of your teams hosting info booths at ski hills or trailheads this winter? I think you were alluding to that, but is there anything specific coming up soon where we can get our free whistles?
Jay knows. Jay knows. If you know me, that's,
no.
yeah, I've got a few thousand kicking around. This weekend, if you're in the East Kootenays and you happen to be at Revelstoke Mountain Resort, up off the second gondola, we're up there, and if you swing over and say hi, you will walk away with an emergency shelter, emergency signaling card, an emergency safety whistle. Whenever you run into us at any point in time in the field, and all of our events are listed online and face-to-face events at the AdventureSmart website on the home page. If you scroll down a little bit, bottom right, you'll see BC AdventureSmart events, and that lists all of our face-to-face, all of our online opportunities. So if you happen to be in BC and you're in those neighborhoods, make sure you come over and say hi, and our team will happily reward you.
Nice. You're so generous.
I'm trying to help out my 3,000 friends is what I'm trying to do. Those Star Volunteers need a break.
Yes, they do.
Yeah.
Yes, they do. And you've mentioned it several times. The website to go to is AdventureSmart.ca.
Yep. And you may have heard me say a few times, I talk about BC AdventureSmart. We have provincial and territorial sectors of the AdventureSmart program, right? So when I talk about BC AdventureSmart, that's where you'll find us on Twitter, Facebook, and Instagram at BCADV Smart. Same handle for all three platforms. The AdventureSmart.ca website is our national home, if you will, where everybody can grab all sorts of great information. Provincially, though, visit BC AdventureSmart. And our Instagram is our biggest platform that we've got all sorts of fun stuff. Tomorrow, we're putting up our giveaway, and we're going to give away an Avalanche skills training course. Jay, you might want to enter and see if you win. So,
all right.
There you go.
We have a great question from Wet Coaster. He wants to know, will AdventureSmart be at GeoWoodstock this year?
We will not. Can you tell me where that will be?
So this is the event that was supposed to happen in 2020 in August, Sandra, where you were going to be there, and then we had to reschedule everything. So we just haven't had a chance to reach out to Sandra and talk to her about it yet, but you are more than welcome to be at the GeoWoodstock event, and you were on my list of people that I was going to be calling in the next couple of weeks. So
Gary beat me to it.
Yeah, Gary beat me to it. But yes, August 13th in Abbotsford, we'll have thousands of geocachers from across BC, across Canada, and around the world, converging to learn about all different kinds of aspects of the game. And what a great place for people to get a little more adventure smart.
And
Send me that request soon.
Full credit where credit's due. It's Greenwood's question. That's Gary's wife, by the way. So, yeah, great. It is a great question.
Yep.
Fantastic. Sandra, thank you for coming on. Before the show, we said, you should get some sort of blazer or some sort of shirt, for being one of our favorite guests. So thank you so much for coming on. We appreciate it.
My pleasure. I always love our themes, and we seem to really delve into some really great topics. So I appreciate your support.
Yeah.
I want to go dig holes in the snow now.
Doesn't that sound like fun?
It does. It does.
A little bit of work, though.
Yeah.
There's more to it than that. A true snow pit, you're digging right to ground. So depending on the snowpack for that year will dictate how far you dig down. If you want to get a true analysis, so be careful what you say, Chris.
For the record, I'm sticking to the fireplace in the lodge.
We already knew that. We knew.
Yeah. I'm a wuss.
I'll talk more about my snow pit I dug in the after show.
There you go.
So Listeners, thank you for joining us. We hope you enjoyed and learned something from this episode of Caching in the Northwest.
Absolutely. And of course, it's time for us to once again thank Land Sharks and Gold Country Geotourism, our corporate Denali level sponsors. Landsharks.ca is the outdoor adventure and geocaching store. Check them out online. Remember, they're shipping online orders daily. And for absolutely amazing geocaching adventures, check out exploregoldcountry.com. And we want to thank all of our faithful Denali level supporters. That would include Landsharks, Gold Country Geotourism, Team Squirrel, Groovy Owl, and Cachly, the geocaching app. Folks, if you want to know more about supporting this show, go on over there and click that Patreon link on the cachingandw.com, a website.
Like LG9000 did.
And Broncos fan for life.
On a boat.
Ala Robrick.
Trexer Zero.
Kitty Quest.
Just finding our way.
Logwork.
My favorite geocaching rapper, MC3 Cats.
GeoNav Pros.
Keats 94.
Me-Dak? No,
No.
you-Dak.
The Geo Travelers.
Skyhawker.
Always enjoying his Instagram account, Sprouter.
Korsgat.
Limax.
B Pendragon.
Doramore.
Antaeus.
Get ready for the countdown. Ari, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1.
Donners.
Wino Seattle.
The Tick Meganet.
Camp Clan.
You Talks Two Rocks.
And staying with the numbers theme, CRS 98.
And Ackerdock.
Fairwood West.
Boomer 365.
I love the wind up on that one.
Yeah. Creaky chair and all.
Birthday Girl. Seaback Tribe.
Genies.
Sege Hove.
Greenwords. Great question.
Kennel Barb. Yeah, good questions. Kennel Barb.
Yeah, that was a good question. Team Noltex.
T-Sayer.
Wet Coaster.
Kid Vegas 19.
GSM times 2.
Kev MacD.
And train spotting for us all, it's Subway Mark.
Yes, he is lately. Terrible lunch. Great cacher. Gas station tuna.
Nerve.
Peach of Washington, Nevada, California,
Florida.
Oregon.
Florida. She's a world traveler. Let's just leave it at that.
Okay. I have to say, Peach sent an email saying she wasn't going to be able to watch the show
Oh no.
because
Oh.
they're traveling right now in
What a
the
shocker.
Southwest. So, if you happen to be traveling anywhere and you're not going to be able to make the show, make sure you send an email. It's just the polite thing to do.
Apparently, she set the
And-
bar high.
Yeah, I know exactly. And finally, we have 3 hams and a rose.
And a rose.
And a
we're
rose.
thankful for the rose. believe
Yes,
me.
we are.
Hey, Jim, before you jump into your next line here, I got to
don't-
share with
I
Sandra
don't
what
jump
Keats,
well. Go ahead.
what Keats just put into the chat. Keats says, Sandra, he knows BC's current Minister of Health. Maybe he can talk him into giving you some airtime with Bonnie Henry.
Oh, now I get butterflies. Now I get to do it. Okay.
There you go.
Be careful
You-
what you
Well,
ask for,
I
Sandra.
was gonna say,
You got it. You got it. No, that would
Caching
be a
in the
great
Northwest.
highlight in my final report.
Wouldn't it? Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, caching in the
Fantastic.
Northwest. Well, we've got some pull. We know people in high places, or we know people.
We know
who
people
know
who know
people. Yeah, but eventually we get there. Yeah, we'll connect you to somebody that'll connect you to a connection somewhere. But if people wanted to connect directly with you, Sandra, how would you like them to do that? Oh, you're muted.
You've muted yourself, Sandra.
Yeah, you're muted there.
Let's see.
Am I
There
back?
we go.
There
Yep.
we are.
Let's make life easy. Just go to our BC AdventureSmart Instagram and send us a DM. Whatever the question is, that's easy. I can recite my email, but I'm sure you don't need to scribble anything down. Just go to BC AdventureSmart on Insta or Facebook or Twitter and send us a little, hey, how you doing? And we'll send you in the right direction. Make it easy.
All right.
Fantastic.
And especially for that listener out there that's driving. Yeah, I can see you driving while you're listening to this podcast. Don't you try to write that address down. Pull the car over, write it down. Yeah. Okay.
You know, this podcast will still be here when you're done driving.
That's right.
It's okay. You just have to listen to the whole thing all over again. But it's okay. Hey, folks, thank you for taking the time to listen to this whole episode of Caching in the Northwest. Your support helps keep quality shows coming. If you like the show, click the Patreon link on the CachingNW.com website. If you didn't like the show, let us know what you want us to talk about, because we'll probably do it. In either case, please subscribe on Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, Stitcher, iHeartRadio, Spotify, and more. Give us a thumbs up, or even better, a review. You can call 253-693-TFTC and leave a comment, ask a question, or lend us a snow shovel any time of the day or night. And of course, you can email us at feedback@cachingnw.com. Join us every Thursday at 9 p.m. Pacific for a live show and chat. This show is produced by Chris Umfenauer, Jim Paulwitz, and Jay Kennedy. It's licensed under a Creative Commons Attribution 3.0 license, copyright 2022 by Chris Umfenauer. And folks, I ask you to stay tuned for
The After Show.
Wow, the after show.
We did it.
We're here.
We made it to the after show.
Nice. I'm going to plug in. I'm running low here.
So are we.
Yeah.
Maybe a short after show.
I can relate. Hey, well, I threw the first after show note in there. I forgot to tag myself, but for those of you in the U.S., the national parks are celebrating a free admission day on this coming Monday, the 17th. That's Martin Luther King Jr. Day here in the States.
Ooh,
very
cool.
They have several free entrance days throughout the year, and this is the first one of 2022. The next one is in April for National Park Week, then August, September, and then November 11th. But this one, it's this month. It's next week. It's just a few days away. Make some plans. Get out and have fun in the national parks.
There you go. Leave a trip plan. Take
Yes,
the essentials.
Mhm.
Train for whatever adventure you're going on.
Look
Yeah.
at you go.
And silly me, I was
listened
thinking
to you.
A few times.
Although one of the favorite AdventureSmart things that I've done, at work, we had a team building exercise, and I was able to work with Sandra's team, and we brought one of your speakers in, and he worked with my department and went through the presentation, and is one of those things where I'm trying to read the room, right? Because it's a room full of nerds, but we're BC nerds, so we're kind of outdoorsy, varying degrees. And so I wasn't really sure how it landed, but he was great, and and whistles and blankets and reflecting cards were given out. And then for weeks after that, I was having coworkers say, that was the most interesting team building exercise we've ever done. So I've had all kinds of positives. So the moral of the story is, if you're looking for a team building exercise at your work, consider having an AdventureSmart presentation.
That's a great idea. Actually, it's funny because we would normally go into schools pre-COVID, right? Because now most of what we do is online. But lunch and learns were great. We've done a bunch of them. It sounds a similar idea, right? A team building exercise, lunch and learn, whatever it is. So yeah, we're here for you virtually, or if we can arrange it in person, we can, depending on everyone's safety.
Exactly. Yeah.
Yeah.
Very cool.
Nice.
Before we jump to Start Cacher's hashtag podcast baking, which is awesome. I love that somebody used the hashtag there. Thank you, Start Cacher. Just a little fatas from me. Tomorrow morning, the first episode of a new series I have about our adventures up the Sunshine Coast and doing the circle tour. That gets released first thing tomorrow morning. So check that out and have fun with that little adventure of ours.
Nice. Now, Sandra, I don't know if you know, but for some reason, people like to bake during this podcast. And
I've heard that before. Yep.
Yeah. Star Cacher actually baked up what he calls American bacon, as opposed to Canadian, I would assume, right?
I'm assuming he's helping us to understand
So,
the difference. Yeah.
It looks to me like it's all bagged up and ready to mail. So I think, yeah, I think some overnight shipment of bacon would be just fine.
Dora Moore says it's not podcast baking, it's podcast bacon.
There you go.
Oh, nice one. That was a good one.
Yeah.
It's very
Very
well
good.
played.
There you go.
Yeah.
During the first half of the podcast, I finished up the last 2 batches of 6 of baking 4 pounds of American bacon. I sent 2 pictures.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Star
There you
Cache.
go.
That's-
There it
Now
is in
I'm
the
hungry.
Ooh.
Oh,
Ooh, look at
that looks delicious. That's my favorite way to do bacon is in the oven.
Yeah, it's a good way. Yeah.
Mhm.
Nice.
Yeah, we've done it in the microwave. It's just not the same.
It's not.
But it's not bad,
Hey, it's still bacon.
That's right.
I'm not saying no to it, but the oven is way better.
I have a really good slow cooker mac and cheese with bacon recipe.
Ooh.
It's got about 4 different crazy awesome cheeses in there, and then you do the bacon and you put it all in out. It's just so good.
I'm
That's-
hungry now.
Oh, I like almost anything in a slow cooker.
Yeah.
Ah,
This is
So-
bacon me crazy.
Crazy.
Nicely played, guys.
Starcasher says it's ready for freezing.
Oh, sure.
Really?
Maybe not mailing, apparently. Bummer.
Yeah.
Well, he'll freeze
No,
it and then he'll mail it to you.
Okay.
Yeah.
Flash frozen. I hear that's a thing.
Bacon in the freezer, no avalanche risk there.
No.
Depends on how
Moderate.
much bacon you put in there.
Well, that's true. You could put maybe a lot. Of
I don't
bacon.
know. Have you seen some of the freezers like at work in that?
When you start digging down for that.
Yeah, there could
For the
be an avalanche
blueberries.
risk on those. Yeah.
Or sometimes when you open your freezer at home and like bananas fall and almost break your toe, like
Right.
the stuff that's going to come flying out anyway. You got to make sure it's all in there, packaged just right.
Oh, too funny.
So true. Hey, folks, thank you for joining us for this episode of Caching in the Northwest. And until next week, get out and get caching in the Northwest.
Bacon.